Hello, guys. This is Dr. Penera Black. Back at ya. Glad to see you again. Hope you're glad to see me and things are going well in your life. I hope you are increasingly every day talking to God, praying, fellowshipping with Him, allowing Him to speak to you. So today, this channel is Goshen Kingdom Financiers. This is the focus. It's a new way that God is moving among his people and really telling us what our finances are for. So, isn't technology great? I want to talk to you about the least of these. You may have at one time or another felt you were a least of these. You may not have had the best grades, the best SAT score out of 600 in your class or 3,000. You may have ranked what, 48, 50, maybe 300, who knows. Um, You may have been at the back of the class, a slow starter, or you may have been a straight A student, academically everything going well, but the home life was a wreck. There are many different reasons why people think they are the least of these, but I'm here to tell you that God always calls the least of these. The people who don't think they can do what he's called them to do or told them to do. The people who don't have the picturesque, excuse me, guys, the picturesque persona uh, that is presented in Babylon. You know, you have to be from the right kind of family, earning the right kind of income, having attended the right kind of school, and none of that stuff is guaranteed, and none of that stuff has anything to do with your soul prospering. Because the people in Babylon who are not born again, living in darkness, your life has already started out to at least of these start, and you don't even know it if you don't have Jesus in your life. Those things, the material things, the possessions, they're good and they have their place, but they don't define you and they don't give you value, even like a credit score. You can't get anything without this credit score. You have to have been working these many amount of years in order to get a home, and just the whole muckety muck way the system is set up. God is calling his people out from Babylon, and he is doing miracles in our lives. He is taking the least of these, the people who think that they are the least of these, who don't have it together. You may have had a ratchet background growing up, but he wants to show you that he is God in his life. And when he elevates you, remember him and give him all the honor and the glory, because you're a living, walking testimony. People can say, oh, if God did that for them, he can do that for me. He's no respecter of persons. This is true, but there is a path called the narrow way that you must follow. It is. God has his grace and his mercy extended toward us, but it's not to sin. It's grace and mercy to live out the promises that he and fulfill the purpose that he has called us to in this earth. So I want to point out a couple of people who thought that they were the least of these in the Bible. And I thought that I had found, I want to talk about Gideon. And I'm realizing that I don't have the spot in my notebook for Gideon and where he is, but hopefully I can find out. I can find him in the book. Let's see. Gideon. He was one of those ones who said, my own family don't even believe in me. My own tribe don't even believe in me. So if I can't find it this time, then I will bring up Gideon the next time. But I definitely thought that I wrote like 2 pages worth on Gideon, because some of you guys may think that you are a Gideon, that God didn't call you, that can any good thing come of me? And if God has called you and saved you and filled you and cleaned you up, and even if you don't feel like you're completely cleaned up, 100 to the 100th degree, God can call whomever he wants to, and God can call you, and everybody else can be upset about it, and they'll just have to deal with it. But I guess I didn't put it in. I really wanted to read, read off for you about Gideon, and it must be in this book. And you know what? I know people are saying, like, why are you using up all your video time? Why don't you just like cut it off and then look for it? But if I can find it now, I'm going to find it, and I am going to go with it. And where is Gideon in my notebook? Because I do take copious notes. Oh, I found it. Awesome. Hi. All righty now. Let's go. Let's get to the getting. All right. So when Saul was disobedient, God took the kingdom away from him, sent Samuel out to excuse me, look for David. Now Samuel didn't know that he was looking for David, but that's who God had called. So David was out in the fields with the sheep, and Samuel had gone through all of David's brothers, saying, "Oh, yeah, this must be the king, and this must be the." And God was like, "Nope." And so none of the brothers that were at the house or near the father Jesse were called. So then Samuel was like, "Well, do you have any other sons?" And it was like David was like an afterthought. They're like, "Oh yeah, I do have a son. Yeah, he works out in the field with the sheep." So just the tone of that is like, like you're asking for him. Like they didn't even like you remember for a second, when Samuel came to Jesse, it seems like Jesse would have been like, "Well, all of my sons aren't here. David is out with the sheep. Let me call him in." But they had just left him out there like they had forgotten about him. Anyway, David was young. He was puny. He was a shepherd boy. But God knew David's heart, and God called him. Jeremiah. God called Jeremiah. Jeremiah was called by God to be a prophet before he was even born. Jeremiah thinks that he's too young. He thinks that he's too inexperienced. He thinks that he can't speak on God's behalf. God does not rescind the call on Jeremiah's life, but God is with Jeremiah every single step of the way. Peter is called. Now we all know what Peter did when he cut off the guard's ear. He said, "Oh, I'm devout to you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. I would never deny you, Jesus." And Jesus knew he was going to deny him. Jesus even told Peter, "Oh, you're going to deny me 3 times." And Peter was like, "No, I'm not. You tripping, Jesus." But Jesus knew. But God had called him. Peter felt that he was too sinful. He was aware of his shortcomings. He felt that he was not worthy enough, but God called him. God called Esther to save her people, to do a great work. She was an orphan. She was an orphan, and God called her to save her people. God, and then we come to Gideon. So it's many different characters in the Bible. I can say Mary. Mary was a teenager. Who was Mary? God chose Mary to carry Jesus in her womb. Elizabeth. Elizabeth, according to this day and age, and even according to that day and age, she was too old to get pregnant. So much so that her husband was the one who started laughing, and the angel's like, "Okay, until the child is born, I'm gonna shut your mouth. You really gonna think like you're gonna go out like that on God and not believe him after he done said something? Oh, okay, is that what we doing right now? Well, I'll go ahead and just shut your unbelieving mouth up until the baby is born, and then you can get with the program, okay?" So let's speak what God tells us to speak. Let's be in alignment with Jesus. Let's not say what the world tells us to say about ourselves. Let's not say the thoughts that Satan tells us about ourselves. Let's not repeat the negative news that teachers may have said about us when we were growing up, and speaking word curses over our lives. We don't accept or receive those word curses. Every word curse spoken against us, it falls down to the ground condemned. It is null and void. It will not be activated. It is inactive. Okay? So, I don't, in the world, you'll notice it's okay for people to say bad things or negative things about themselves. God doesn't say negative things about you. Why are you saying something negative about yourself? Did God tell you that? You think God created you to come down here for him to punk you out and be like, "You ain't all that. I made a mistake." No, absolutely not. God brought you here with a plan and with a purpose to fulfill. He is filling you up with his goodness and his love and his peace and his joy. All that you want, you can have from him. Serving him, fellowshipping with him. And when I say all that you can have, wealth and prosperity is a wealth. Financial wealth is a byproduct. We know that there are different types of wealth: mental wealth and health, spiritual wealth and health, our soul prospering wealth and health, um, healthy and wealthy relationships, in addition to finance. And so I want to talk about Gideon, because he is like one of my favorite characters in the Bible, because he just totally counted himself out. So if you just don't see no way God can call you, please let the story of Gideon lift you up. Judges 6 and 11. Gideon was a Midianite, and no, excuse me, let me roll it back. Gideon was an Israelite, and he was enslaved. They were enslaved by the Midianites. It says, "The angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon and said to him, Adonai is with you, O mighty man of valor." God will call you who you are before you walk in who you are. God will call you who you are before you even see it. So if God says it and God saw it, even if you can't see it, believe it and be on the path and be about your way doing your Father's business, like Jesus said. I'm doing my Father's business. My family, my mothers and my brothers, they are those who are doing God's business. And even now, you have to say that to yourself when your blood family gets so ridiculously foolish. I'm like, oh, at this day and age, my family are those who are following Jesus Christ, because I just don't have time for, anything that is out of alignment with Jesus Christ and what we're supposed to be doing for him. So it says, God had brought them up out of the land of Egypt, out of bondage. God said, it was I who drove them out of the land before you and gave you their land. I told you, I am Adonai, your God. Do not fear the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you are dwelling. But you have not obeyed me. Um, let's see. I want to pick up the story. Um, let's see. He's telling Gideon, go in the strength you have and save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you? Have I not sent you? Gideon said, how am I to rescue Israel? Behold, my family is the least significant in Manasseh, and I am the youngest, the smallest in my father's house. God said, I will certainly be with you. So I want to give you some back history on this. The children of Israel were disobedient. They were once enslaved. Their disobedience led to them being hostages and being enslaved to ungodly people, and these people were the Midianites. The Midianites harassed them. They would well, let me read it. The Midianites and Amalekites destroyed the Israelites' crops and animals, and they were impoverished. They did evil in the sight of the land while they were being held in captivity. So the Midianites and Amalekites were just picking with the Israelites. Anytime they tried to make headway on anything, they would just pull up their crops, destroy their crops. Anyway that the Israelites found to succeed, and to make a livelihood for themselves, the Amalekites and the Midianites came along and destroyed it. And so the people got tired of this and they cried out to God, and God sent them a prophet, and God sent them a least of these prophets. You know, Gideon saw himself as the weakest member of his family and clan. He didn't see himself as a warrior or as a leader. So if God is calling you to do a work for him, then that's what you should be focused on. Now it says, now God tells him exactly what he should be doing. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm like, I saw something on my lips. It didn't look too appetizing. Okay.